folks, Wedell here. I'm the Chief Investment Officer at RFG Advisory. Thought we'd come to you today with a brief market update. I'm obviously filming on location today, which means something must have happened, and that something is the government shutdown. So we're going to talk about that quite a bit. Just to give you a level, the S&P 500 is about 6714 as I'm speaking. That is still up significantly over the course of the year. And actually, today is the first day of the government shutdown. Most of you will be watching this tomorrow, the second day of the government shutdown. But the S&P 500 is actually up about 40 basis points on the day, or about 0.4%. So the market kind of shaking off the government shutdown news, and with good reason, because the market is a very forward-looking creature. Okay. When people think about their expectations for, okay, when I go out and buy Delta stock, or when I go out and buy Coca-Cola stock, or whatever it might be, I'm normally buying it with an idea that I am going to own it and its earnings stream for a decade into the future, and thinking about what the value of those earnings might be. Okay. And so the market tends to be very sensitive to things like, oh my goodness, our GDP growth rate is slowing down, or maybe it's speeding up, or, hey, I'm about to go into a recession and that recession is going to last a significantly long time, or any one of those types of things, the market tends to be very, very sensitive to. But when we see something like a government shutdown, and I'm going to give you some average statistics on these in a little bit, the market tends to look at that and say, like, hey, it might be a little economically expensive, but it's probably not going to last that long, and we'll be back to operating as normal very, very quickly. So the market tends to kind of shrug off these things. In fact, there have been numerous government shutdowns going back to sort of the mid-70s, and the average length of a shutdown is about 8 days. The market on average is about flat during those 8 days, and after tends to rise maybe 1%-ish after we are done with the government shutdown. The single longest shutdown in history was about 34 days back in 2018, also under President Trump. And in that event, we kind of bought the news, sold the headlines, or kind of the reverse of that. The market was down about 7-8% going into the shutdown because people were nervous about it. But then over the course of the next 34 days, once again, the longest shutdown in history, the market had rallied by about 10% because people figured out that the shutdown wasn't really actually that bad of a thing. There are some impacts. We shouldn't trivialize those. While the government is shut down, we can't get any of that economic data that we normally like to have. So the jobs report that we were supposed to get later this week, we probably won't get, or will be delayed. And that may leave the Fed in a little bit of a wait and see mode. I think they're unlikely to do anything if they don't know what's going on out there. So that may put a little bit of the Fed rate cut on pause. At least there's some thought out there. And I would also just note that, to the extent there are obviously some government employees that are going to be furloughed, to the extent that those turn into sort of permanent firings, which the administration has threatened, that could impact what is already a relatively weak job market. So that might put even a little bit more pressure on the Fed to cut rates. It's yet to be seen whether or not the administration is actually going to carry through with that or not. But, if they do, that's obviously probably a negative for unemployment, which is, probably a negative for overall consumer spending. But net, it's not something I would be super concerned about with respect to your portfolios. The market generally sort of looks forward into the future past these things. And so I wouldn't stress about it too much. With that, as always, if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to myself or to your advisor. I hope you're having a great day, and I look forward to talking to you again soon.